Did one player's commitment really just change the whole vibe of the offseason? Well, yeah, with Connor Moore, our latest transfer portal edition, I think so.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below. Let's do a letter grade here. What letter grade do you give Michigan State this offseason? Because right now we've gone from, my opinion, about a B minus, a grade I was very familiar with in high school and in college, and now I think trending on the B plus range, if you will. Maybe, dare I say, even A minus. We're going to talk about that in the first segment, just the whole vibe around this football team with how they've improved on paper, specifically after Connor Moore committed, and then getting into basketball talk, segments 2 and 3. But first, guys, again, rate, review, subscribe, reach out to us, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, what have you, because a lot of questions about Connor Moore so far. So let's just talk about the man of the weekend right here. If you don't know who he is, if this is your first show that you've seen in a while, transfer offensive lineman from Montana State. They lost their only game in the FCS National Championship, largely in part because how well he played. 16 games for him last year, over 900 snaps, just allowed 11 pressures. So yes, he was highly coveted. Cincinnati went hard after him. Ohio State really wanted him. But hey, he shows up to East Lansing over the weekend, cancels that Ohio State visit, commits to the Spartans, and now, well, yeah, I think it's a massive shift in the vibe, if you will. That's the word I'm going to use, the vibe of the offseason for Michigan State. And that's not to say it's gone from a complete negative to an overwhelming positive. Even before Connor Moore's commitment, I was saying that, as a whole, Michigan State has improved on paper in different position groups. Now, where we kind of hit the brakes a little bit is when we talked about that offensive line. Like, hey, guys, this is great. Receivers gotten a little better. I like what they're doing in the defensive backfield, but the offensive line, sure, they've got some guys, but we need a tackle because I need to see what this team looks like with at least just an average guy playing right tackle. And let's just look at what we had to deal with last year, because last season, this is before the ball was even kicked off, right, guys? You went into that year on the offensive line with just 6 guys with any college experience. You're starting 5, and then you had 1 backup, Dallas Fincher, that had any college experience. It was crazy. It was a lack of depth. And unfortunately, we saw all that unfold. Childs was pressured on 36.4% of dropbacks. That was the 4th most in conference play. Okay, 30 of those pressures came from that right tackle position. Okay, it was a little shaky on the right side of the offensive line as far as pass protection goes. Now, that's not the only excuse for Aiden Childs. He has some other things to work on, but I don't know. Let's do something crazy. Give our quarterback a chance to at least prosper here. Now, as you go into this season, okay, there are 8 guys on last year's offensive line that got snaps that are returning to this year's team. Okay, you add in Connor Moore, you add in Matt Golden, transfer from Wake Forest, you add Luka Vincic, a transfer from Oregon State, and then Caleb Carter, another offensive lineman from a lower level. Okay, that's 12 guys that now have college experience in your offensive line room. Guys, that means we have guys on the third string that have any college experience. I'm not going to, go as far as saying that this is automatic guaranteed for Michigan State to score 38 points per game next year. Woo! No, but you know what? This bodes well for at least an average offensive line in Big Ten play. And when's the last time us Spartan fans have watched that? Rhetorical and non-rhetorical. Please answer that for me, because it has been some time here. Now, it isn't all good news for Michigan State in the offseason for the offensive line. Of course, you lost Tanner Miller, you lost Luke Newman. Both those guys were out of eligibility, but it's what you've gained that, okay, now puts this offense in a good spot going further into the offseason. Let's talk a little bit more about Connor Moore, okay? Guys, I like FCS All-American, first team All-Big Sky, obviously. You just heard the numbers I said, 900 plus snaps, just 11 pressures given up in 16 games. Okay, but it is a drastic difference from FCS to Big Ten Power 4 football, right? Yes, we think the world of him right now. In reality, let's just say that he's just average. I think he will be a little bit more above average. I think he will be a plus player on this team. But let's say, you know what? Takes him a little bit to get his footing in Big Ten play. He's just an average right tackle. You're running the mill. Okay, that's good. Like that's fine. Because the situation was going to be dire moving further into the offseason without him. And that's really where we started to get the, what's the professional term? The heebie-jeebies about the offensive line. Is that, okay, you added Matt Goldman. That's great for the interior. Awesome. Luka Vincic, sure. Let's say he turns out to be someone in the interior. That's awesome. The right tackle position left a lot to be desired. Just like we said, 30 pressures came from that alone. That was the second most in Big Ten play amongst tackles. It was not good. You're going to move further into the offseason as you're moving further into the portal cycle, kind of wondering where the help's going to come from because, well, there's two ways that you can get a tackle in the portal. Primarily, it's very rare for like a Power 4 starter to just jump in the portal and take another position or take another program under their wing, or another program take them under their wing. You guys know what I'm saying. The two main tackles that you can get are guys that have just lost their starting positions, right? Or guys that really aren't that good, but a team's going to overpay for them big time. We talked about it yesterday with Justin Thinn. Spencer Brown of Michigan State fame going to Oklahoma. That's a famous example. You can go ahead and ask Sooner fans how they thought of that, how that worked out. Not so well. The other way you get a tackle is a lower level, group of 5, FCS. The guy does really well. He wants a payday. He wants to go against even better competition and grow in his career. Well, that's what you get with Connor Moore right there. Those are not easy to come by. Michigan State came by one, hosted him over the weekend, and yeah, the rest is history. Again, I want to be clear right here. This does not mean Michigan State is guaranteed to have a top 3 offense in Big Ten play. But what it does mean, what we didn't really see last year as the season kept going on and depth was getting more trimmed and trimmed, the offense and Aiden Childs might just actually have a chance to do something. You're not going to have a stable of running backs that are consistently taking hits behind the offensive line. And it's not just because of Connor Moore, guys. Let's pull out Matt Goldman too, okay? The transfer from Wake Forest, Pro Football Focus, they love his numbers. Or they love what he is, and that is reflected by their numbers. 72.9 overall, 78.5 in pass blocking. He just allowed 1 sack last year. And guys, actually, when it comes to pass blocking, he was the 5th highest rated guard in the ACC when it comes to pass blocking. And in the run game, well, he was the 2nd highest graded guard in the ACC when it came to run blocking, guys. 2 really strong transfer portal pickups to replace 2 guys that you've lost in the offensive line, but it's also everywhere around. More growth, more depth, something we haven't seen with this unit in quite some time. Guys, I want to hit on the receivers here in a hot second, but first need to talk everyone's ear off about WayFair. Game Time. Oh, that's right. Calling an audible mid-ad break. We'll hear from WayFair in a little bit. Guys, it is the greatest time of the year because our Michigan State basketball team is just winning. And they're also playing at home on Wednesday. I hopped on Game Time right before recording just to see what the prices were. You can get into this game to see your Michigan State Spartans go for a 10th straight victory for just $11 on Game Time. All right? And let's say you want to sit in the lower bowl, which can be very pricey, as us Michigan State fans know. Guys, $43 tickets right there on Game Time if you want to see the hottest Big Ten team play at Breslin Center. And you can save money with those flash deals. If you're listening right now, a few days ahead of time, well, go ahead. You're going to save great money in great sections on great seats. Or let's say Wednesday, you get out of work a little early, got nothing else to do, mosey on over to Breslin Center. It's not too late to save because their flash deals will also save you that money with the last-minute deals. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Really quick, before talking basketball, the ceiling for this Michigan State hoops team, did want to highlight the receivers really quick because, well, the shining star position group-wise was receiver before the offensive line landed those 2 really strong transfers. And there's a solid argument to be made for wide receivers. Omari Kelly, Christian McCray, Evan Boyd, Rod Bullard. That's a fine 4-pack, right? But there is something Now, we have to say, guys, and we will be making this correction throughout the next few weeks as we go into the offseason, and it's not anything wrong we said, just something has changed, though. But we have to lay something to rest, and it's that fun stat that we would say when talking about the wide receiver room is that, hey, Nick Marsh, he's the only guy returning next year that recorded any stat on the team last year, in the wide receiver room, that is. Because, guys, Alante Brown, he's back. That's right, because, hey, the junior college or prep school, it doesn't count against guys now. If you started, I think, in 2019 or 2020, any way it works, there's another year of eligibility for Alante Brown. He is taking advantage of it, as reported on by Ryan O'Blenis of Spartans Illustrated. So that's two guys that recorded stats in the wide receiver room coming back next year. Now, of course, Alante Brown, not a lot of stats last year. He had that early season injury, just played in 4 games. But now for starters, maybe Alante can work his way into that group. He did start there last year, but Nick Marsh, obviously, Omari Kelly, Christian McCray, I would imagine are still your starting 3 receivers. But right off the bench, experienced guy Alante Brown, fine. And then Jalen Brown, too. Keep an eye on him. Evan Boyd out of Central Michigan. Rod Bullard out of Valdosta State. He had 1,000 yards for Valdosta State last year. And then also, too, true freshman Braylon Collier. Might keep an eye on him, too. But that's how you build your receiver room right there. Like, that is how it's made. You had 1 guy returning. Well, now 2. And now you're seeing it fleshed out right in front of your eyes. Now, there is one other question. Do you want to get to Spartan 1963 about the offensive line? Wrote in with 3 quality portal additions on the offensive line. Am I crazy for worrying that we may lose a player like Andrew Dennis or Rakeem Yun in the spring portal? Sorry, Rustin Yun in the spring portal. Of course, you can always have a baseline level of concern this day and age in college football. Never will it be a 0% shot that guys are going to leave. But I would be a little surprised if Dennis or Yun did decide to go up and leave, because it's not like Dennis, as a true freshman last year, former 4-star, flipped from Illinois to come to Michigan State. He played 4 snaps last year. Like, if he was, an 80, 90, 100 snap guy and he was knocking on the door of someone's starting position, maybe. And that's not to say that you can't grow from a freshman year where you don't really play to a sophomore year. I think that he understands it's still maybe 1 or 2 more years before he really gets in that fold. Same with Rustin Yun, but again, anything can happen. I don't think that this was a blind side by them. I'm sure they're fully understanding that, well, yeah, you're going to get someone that's more seasoned, more experienced here. So we'll see. I'm not saying that it's a 0% chance that these guys leave. But, they played so sparingly that I think it's understanding that, we're still about 1 year away from serious contributions to this football team. All right, switching to the basketball court here, because your Michigan State Spartans are ranked number 12 in the latest AP poll, the highest-ranked Big Ten team in the country right now. And this is the Spartans' highest ranking in the month of January since 2021, where they were ranked 10th for a little bit in that season. Now, there was a question that we got. They just wrote their name as Sparty. So I don't know if this is the actual mascot or what, but they wrote, is Sparty Hoops destined for a run in March? What do you think our floor/ceiling is for the rest of the season? And you know what? Just before I even answer the question, just a little anecdote. Friend of the program, Graham Nelson, he reached out on Twitter. We're talking Michigan State basketball. And this is what I said. I said that this is finally officially, after this win against Northwestern, where they just beat them down in the first half and coasted in the second half, this has crossed that bridge from, hey, Michigan State basketball is fun. Oh my, whoa, we're smiling watching this. This is great. Oh, look how cool these players are. Like, it's gone from that to, like, now there's, like, expectations. Now we're ready to be hurt, is how I put it. We've crossed the bridge from fun team to I'm ready to have my soul crushed in March, because, maybe you started the season with these expectations. I certainly didn't. But there is the expectation to win a Big Ten title now. There is an expectation to make a run in March. So what is the floor for this team? I mean, look, right now, the computers have you just underdogs in 3 remaining games in Big Ten play. It's on the road at Illinois, on the road at Michigan. You're going to be roughly 6-point underdogs as things stand right now. This is always fluid. And then a 3-point underdog on the road at Maryland. But let's say that, February does get a little testy for Michigan State because that is still a gauntlet of a schedule, guys, right? You start with that West Coast swing at USC, at UCLA. Long travel will always play a role in a college game. Oregon's a really strong team. Indiana, I know they kind of sucked this year, but who knows? Maybe they turn something around. Then at Illinois. My point is that February can get squirrely, so I guess the floor for this team, like a top 8 seed in the Big Ten tournament, and then like a 7-8 seed in the Big Dance, if you will. But the ceiling, guys, I think it is kind of time to start dreaming. I mean, Michigan State right now, as things stand, they are one of 11 teams in the nation in the top 30 for both offensive and defensive efficiency, okay? The last 19 national champions were in that top 30 range on both sides of the court. So right now, if you go to the bracket matrix, that's all the bracketologies online combined into one convenient place. Michigan State is a 4 seed right now. You win the Big Ten title, you win the Big Ten tournament, you only lose 3 conference games like the computers expect. Well, you can certainly play your way into a 3, if not a 2 seed, and as we know, that matters in March Madness. So what is the ceiling? Why? Oh, God. I can't believe I'm going to say the F word here. Why not Final Four? Why? No, really, why not? Someone answer that question right now for me. Why can't this team go to a Final Four? Okay, they have the depth. Clearly. I mean, they have, top 5 bench points in the nation. They can do it to you with anyone on any given night. It is fantastic. They have the guard play to do it. Of course, offensively, Jeremy Few's great distributor of the ball. And, how about defensively, too, just for the whole unit, guards, wings, around that perimeter, that's going to take you far in March Madness. And, guys, the rebounding, still out of control for Michigan State. So they have just been tearing it up on the boards. Defense, guard, they are hitting every cliche that you want to about a team that makes a run in March. What else is, senior leadership and good, senior play. I would say Jaden Akins is holding his end of the bargain up right now. Okay, so there is still a long way to go. I can't bring myself fully to convincing myself of that dream yet, but I'm on the doorstep. If you are already there, already thinking of San Antonio, I can't say you're stupid. I can't say you're out of line because I understand that Michigan State hasn't played the toughest Big Ten teams yet, but just the way they have treated them, 3 of them on the road, that's the mark of a championship team. That's the mark of a Final Four team. So I want to see it against, some livelier road crowds. I want to see it against better teams. I want to see it with, the travel to the West Coast, what that does to a team. But right now, it's kind of sort of becoming real. This team does have March aspirations. It's scary. This is what we dreamed of, though. This is good. This is good. I do like this. Now, more basketball questions. Joe wrote in, as the game went on against Northwestern, I was thinking, who would be the one player we couldn't afford to lose? I wouldn't have said this 2 weeks ago, but I'm saying Jeremy Fears. We're a different offense when Fears is running the show and his defense is improving daily. You got that right. I feel like that's still underrated with Jeremy Fears, his defense. That started to come to fruition against Oakland when the guys whose name is escaping me, the guard for Oakland, was going off in the first half. Jeremy Fears at halftime said, I got him in the second half, and boy, howdy did he ice him out of anything at Little Caesars Arena. So, of course, there's no run answers to the one guy that you don't want to lose on this team, and I'm just going to knock on wood for the fear of jinxing anything right now, but there are no run answers. Fears is a great one because he is a floor general. It's not just a nickname. It is his way of life on the court. Jaden Akins, absolutely. Jase Richardson, just dynamite off the bench, of course. But dare I say that my guy is actually Jackson Kohler. The team is top 10 in rebound margin nationally, also top 10 in rebounding percentage, largely because of Jackson Kohler. 28.7% defensive rebounding, 16.1% offensive rebounding. Both of those would be the highest for Michigan State Spartans since 2008, when they started tracking that stat. He is on a tear on the board. So it's not just because, maybe he's not the best player, quote unquote, but I think he's the most irreplaceable player. Because you're not going to find anyone else on that roster that's doing it the way he's doing it. Let's say, God forbid, Akins goes down. Okay, well, Jase Richardson, we've seen you flourish. Go in there. Jackson goes down. That's going to be a hard one to fill in just for the rebounding. So that's going to be my answer right now. This is one of those questions where, like, if you ask me this tomorrow, I might feel differently. But right now, in the moment, I got to go with the rebounding machine, and also a guy that could just put up an automatic 8 points for you, Jackson Kohler. So I do love that question. All right, guys, we're going to be back in a hot second with more questions. But, hey, now it's time for WayFair. That is right. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. And I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into the routine. And my goodness gracious, with two little tykes that have one skrillion toys, I know that life all too well. So whether you're tidying up, you're clearing out, or you just want to give your space a new look to start the new year, WayFair is everything you need, all within your budget. Now, currently, I'm looking at furniture. We're looking for storage options, and their huge selection makes it easier to find pieces that fit our style and our budget. And my favorite part, guys, you know this, I like to save a few bucks. It is the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. WayFair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything I needed to in no time. There is something for every style and every home, no matter your space or your budget. WayFair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space. Give your home that refresh it needs with WayFair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WayFair.com. WayFair, every style, every home. Keeping the basketball talk rolling here, Evan wrote in a 2-pack of questions. The first one, would you rather have Tyson Walker on this year's team but not have Trey Holloman and Frankie Fiddler, or keep the team the same? This sounds ridiculous, I think, because Tyson Walker was outstanding. He was an automatic 20-point player, good 3-point shooter, good free throw shooter, also incredible defensively. But why fix something that's not broken right now with Michigan State, specifically with how their guards are playing so far? And I know that, like, Trey Holloman, it hasn't been this great leap from sophomore to junior year, but still, rangy athletic. He's also very lengthy defensively. Like, just that alone, too, fine, like, keep it. Okay, and I know that Frankie Fiddler, it's been some slow going to get used to Big Ten play. He did have a solid game against Northwestern. Hopefully that's the start of something strong off the bench for Fiddler. But oh man, guys, like, I like Jaden Akins being assertive. Okay, like, and that's not to say that, you know, Tyson Walker was the sole reason that his development was stunted. Like, but Jaden Akins has taken and run with this opportunity now that Tyson Walker is gone. You know what? Like, you have Tyson Walker back. Does that cut it all into Jase Richardson's playing time? Answer, like, yes, it would. So, like, Tyson Walker was outstanding. But right now, as we're in the midst of a 9-game winning streak, I might be prisoner in the moment right now. I think your guards specifically are playing good enough where, you know what, don't tinker with it. That's fine. Jaden Akins at the 2 is fine. Jase Richardson at the 2 every once in a while, more than fine right now. Trey Holloman being Jeremy Fear's running mate, you know what, they're making it work right now. So, sorry, Tyson Walker, because it was a bummer for us fans the last few years. There's no one I felt worse for. It's 2 guys, actually. Tyson Walker being one, obviously, and Malik Hall. Just that they couldn't experience more victories at their time at Michigan State, specifically Tyson Walker, who transferred here, and that just wasn't the Michigan State basketball that we were accustomed to as a whole. So, yeah, it's a bummer, but I'm sorry. We're going to say, Tyson, I'm sorry. We're going to keep you out in the cold right there. The second question Evan hit us with. He's already jumping ahead to the Michigan game going on later in February, and, of course, Senior Day back at Breslin Center in March. Who do you think primarily guards Danny Wolf against Michigan? Now, if you haven't watched Michigan basketball, Danny Wolf, a player. He's strong. 6'11", can just handle the ball really well. Some guys are calling him a 6'11" point guard. He does it all for Michigan. He runs the pick and roll very well with Vlad Spoogity Hoopity. I don't know what his last name is, but it is a strong Twin Towers duo of a pick and roll over there at Michigan. So who's going to guard Danny Wolf? I might be a boring, easy, just like kind of cop-out answer, but I truly do think it will be the kitchen sink. And we've seen Izzo in the past, like, not be opposed to putting guys that are 5 inches below, the other team's star player, just because, hey, you know what, athletically they can keep up with him. So, like, Jaden Akins to start on Danny Wolf would not be shocked at all. I think that's what's going to happen. All right, Cohen Carr. Hey, you're off the bench. Danny Wolf is your guy for the next few minutes. And hey, Frankie Fiddler, welcome to the party. This is Mr. Wolf. You will be in his shorts for the next 4 minutes. And then, hey, Booker, what's that? 5 fouls to give? Okay, there we go. Here's Danny Wolf over there. Use it on him. So I think they're just going to throw a little bit of everything on them. We've seen it in years past. Should have jotted down examples, but yeah, I think it's going to be the kitchen sink approach when it comes to Danny Wolf, because it is like pretty clear he's the straw that stirs that drink there. There's not much else you have to just completely be frightened about, at least on that perimeter with the Vlad guy, the 7-foot center. It's pretty easy. You throw Zapala on him, Carson Cooper, but yeah, as far as on the wing, perimeter, anywhere in between, it's going to be the whole kitchen sink. Nicholas wrote in, what do you think about the Athletics' Sam Viceni, having Richardson as the 21st pick in the NBA draft, going to Atlanta in the mock draft? Also, what do you know about the Magic Johnson NIL contributions or pact? About the Magic Johnson thing, that's in reference to a tweet from an account who goes by the name of Brody Sheets, who tweeted that Magic Johnson said that he's going to fork over whatever money it takes for Michigan State to be a power. I'm sure Mr. Sheets is an incredibly nice guy, and I don't want to get on his bad side, because I've seen how ruthless he could be on Twitter. I will say this. I don't know how accurate Brody Sheets' reporting ever is. So if you're ever sent anything from that account, maybe, here's how we'll do this diplomatically, maybe double source that one. So I don't know how much Magic Johnson is doing. I don't think it's that blank check that was talked about. I wouldn't talk about it on the show if I wasn't sent that tweet from many people wondering how legit it was. And I'm glad you brought it up as a question, Nicholas, because it's not legit. I think Brody Sheets is a very funny account, but my God, he gets us in trouble sometimes. Anyway, what do I think about the Athletics top NBA guy having Jase Richardson 21st in the first round? I love when Spartans succeed. I love when Michigan State Spartans student athletes get to reach their goals after their sophomore season, ideally. I would like to squeeze a little more juice out of that Jase Richardson orange, if we don't mind. I love to see that he's, prospering. He's doing great so far for Michigan State. Chill out a little bit, though, Jase. Like, we do want to enjoy you for at least one more season. I know that is incredibly selfish. That is incredibly immature. But whoever said I was mature, I would like to see you back in Gary Harris fashion. And speaking of Gary Harris, Ryan wrote in a great question. Every time I watch Jase Richardson play, the word smooth comes to mind. He's the smoothest Spartan freshman since who? Now, Ryan wrote down Josh Langford, Gary Harris, Sean Respert, Jay Vincent. I truly do think it is Gary Harris. I mean, Josh Langford was a solid freshman, don't get me wrong, but he always had that old man basketball, just label attached to him. And, I'm going to be fundamental. I'm going to pull it from 15 feet. Jase Richardson gets it done, cuts to the lane, looks smooth doing it. Just like Gary Harris. That's kind of who I'm comparing it to right now. So I do like that Gary Harris comparison. Now, I'm going to step out of the same position group, because when it comes to smooth as a freshman, I thought Nick Ward actually had a few flashes too, like his footwork very early on. And actually, during all 3 years of his career at Michigan State, his footwork was always superb. So he had some moments as a freshman too where it's like, ooh, smooth moves, big fella. But if you want to keep it just positionally and style of play, yeah, Gary Harris is the one. Please, like Gary Harris, stay for another year of college. I beg you, experience the Brody cafeteria more. Who needs NIL when you got that cafeteria in your backyard? So that's where we're going to go right there. Now, the last question. Jebediah, I think I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying it right. Jebediah writes in, now that we're a year removed, would you still sacrifice a Lions playoff run if it meant U of M didn't win the college football playoff? Now, right now for this year, I would take a Lions Super Bowl appearance, not even a win. I'm just desperate for an appearance in the Super Bowl, and Michigan can keep their national title. Was it fun they won the national title? No, absolutely not. Do I wish it happened? Of course not. I gotta say, though, it hasn't been as bad as I thought it would be when I used to just, daydream the doomsday scenario of them winning a national title one day. The world keeps spinning, life moves on, and it is kind of funny that they have this cloud of mystery around it of, hey, that cheating that you did. That, it came in the funniest way possible. So, but last year's run, last year's Lions run, no, I would trade all that back. I didn't get anything out of, in the moment. Okay, I'm sorry. Getting excited here. In the moment, they beat the Rams. Very exciting. They beat the Bucs next round. Oh my God, this is so exciting. They're up 17 points at halftime in the NFC Championship game. That's all exciting, only to have our souls absolutely stomped on. That was not worth those first 2 wins. How crushing of a loss that was to the 49ers on the doorstep of a Super Bowl appearance. No, I would trade all that back, and Michigan can, erase their national title for last year's. But for this year, I would take a Super Bowl appearance if it meant that Michigan keeps their national title. That's fine. Don't care. That's in the past now. I'm worried about right now. And right now, first and foremost, I don't want to get it twisted. I am a Michigan State fan first. If I had to rank my hierarchy of rooting, Michigan State football and basketball 1. I think Detroit Tigers 2, Detroit Lions 3. But let me tell, it's all delusional fandom. It's just levels to the delusion. I'm already sweating about Saturday's game. I'm probably going to cry a few times because I'm watching football. That actually means something, and we couldn't really say that a lot in the fall. All right, how about that for a happy note, guys? We will be back tomorrow. You guys already know we're going to preview this Michigan State-Penn State game going on Wednesday. We're going to talk more football, of course. But until then, hey, guys, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go Green.